The Vergas Show is brought to you by Vergas State Bank, your locally owned full-service bank.
With 2 locations in Vergas and Perham, make the right call. Call Antonsen's, the most trusted name in plumbing and heating.
Spanky's Stone Hearth, casual fine dining on the shores of beautiful Rose Lake.
Hi, welcome to the Vergas Show. I'm Sherry Hansen. Thanks for joining me, and I'm with David Antonsen. We're out at the Antonsen Farms. We're talking about maple syrup. We're talking about last week, if you saw the show, the tapping of the trees, and now we are in the warm cook shack. Oh my goodness, David, how hot is it in here?
It's only about 92 today. We've had it up to 102 in here.
Okay, so those of you who think you have to go to Mexico or the Dominican, forget it. Just start tapping maple trees and you're going to get the warmth, right?
That's right. It gets warm in here.
But it feels good. And what we're talking about now and going to show you is last week, if you saw how the trees were tapped and that sap comes out. And I mean, it was just like Christmas. You would go to the buckets that are on the trees and you'd open them up. And I know their grandson, Aiden, he'd pour it out and it'd be full of sap. And but once you get that sap, then you got another process, don't you, David?
It's a long process.
It's a long process. Why don't you tell me about it?
Okay, we're going to bring the sap back, and then we refilter it, and then we put it in our cook, or our things to cook, our pans to cook it down. And that's a long process. We'll keep adding till we're out of product and just keep cooking it down. So
what's happening when it's cooking?
Okay, we're boiling off the water. And we're going to end up with the syrup. And when we get to 219 degrees, that's when syrup boils. So we'll have the pure product right then. So water boils at 212, so 7 degrees above water boiling, we'll have syrup.
When you talk about I have a hard time watching, you put in what I actually thought the sap looked like water. You put it in there, and obviously there is some water on it. How do you know when it's syrup?
Well, when it starts to crawl up in the pan, and that's when it'll turn to syrup. All the water is boiled off.
And then when you say crawl up in the pan.
it's a rush to see it crawl up in the pan. It'll just kind of bubble up and make big bubbles, like maybe 2-inch bubbles it'll be colored bubbles. Okay. So it's actually the finished product then. So it's a very, very big rush when it starts to crawl up out of that pan.
Well, I'm sure it is, and especially how long from the time you put it in there until you get that crawling up of the syrup.
We started at 6 a.m. this morning, and we probably will get done by 11 a.m. with this small batch we had. We only had 30 gallons today to cook down, so it'll be just a small batch.
Okay, and when you talk about cooking it down in 30 gallons, you go from 30 gallons and how much product?
We'll maybe get probably 6 pints out of this today. 6 pints of this finished product. Okay. That's not much from all the cooking.
Well, it's not much from all the cooking, but there's just such a satisfaction from doing it. And I know we're with the rest of the group here. Let's join them. We got Sandy, your wife, and we've got your grandson, Aiden, and you've got your trusty helper here, Dick Olerking. And these guys, when I was sitting and visiting before the show here and that, it's just, there's just something just earthy and fun about it. And Dick, you were explaining it.
It's like something to do this time of the year, and it's fun to see what you can make out of some sap, out of a tree. It's just entertaining. That's
right. You could be sitting in the bar, right?
Yep. Oh yes. There's a lot of things you could be doing besides this.
Right, and I just think that this is so much fun. Aiden, when you go back to your school, do you ever tell your friends about what you did up here with the maple syrup?
No.
Okay. Well, I think you need to, because if you've learned anything about it, what is something you've learned about making maple syrup?
Patience.
All right. That is a big word, because I imagine it does take an awful lot of patience, and like David said, the whole process. And Sandy, I know that you and I were talking about the fun of cooking with it. Tell me about some of the things you've tried.
Well, I just made a new recipe the other day. It was blueberry muffins, and you use like a half a cup of maple syrup in there, and they were very good. So
You know, Dick, I think you were telling me your wife too. What does she do?
She makes cookies
Okay.
with the syrup. She about instead of using all brown sugar, she uses half the brown sugar and then uses maple syrup for the rest. And they are very soft. They don't get hard.
Okay, sure. What's your favorite thing? Just the pure syrup, right?
I just love to eat just pure syrup after it gets cooked down. Yes.
Now, Aiden, your grandpa said that this batch this year is just really tasty. In fact, you know, some of it's spilt, and you could just take it with a spoon and eat it. You must have a favorite thing to eat maple syrup on. What is it?
Pancakes.
It is on pancakes. Okay, I know a lot of people, seem to like it on the ice cream and things like that, and so can you see this being something that you would like to continue to do?
Maybe.
Maybe. You can come back, take over Grandpa's farm, have a few cows. You could be going in and tapping those trees.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Possibility, right? Right. Well, David, if you were to advise somebody that wanted to get started on doing their own process, what would you have to say?
Well, you'd have to start small like we did. We tapped 10 trees to start with, and we started with a turkey cooker. And from some advice from a former neighbor, we said that you put it in a turkey cooker. When it starts to crawl out of there, you got syrup. So that's the way we started. And I just talked to another guy the other day when I was getting some propane. I had 7 to get filled, and he come with 1 tank, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, we're cooking maple syrup." "Well, I am too," he said. And he said, "I got 6 trees tapped." So he's starting small. That's the way we did, but it got bigger and bigger and bigger.
And Sandy, what is the most enjoyment you get from the tapping the trees and getting the finished product?
Well, it's being outside and just
Giving the syrup
yep,
away, maybe. Huh?
yeah, giving it away, and
Yeah.
it's just been fun.
Yeah, I think it would just be, there's something satisfying about being able to take one of these like that and say, you know what, we tapped this, we cooked it down, we filtered it, and now you get to enjoy that on your table on however you want to do it, whether it be ice cream or pancakes or cooking or however you want to do that. You're going to have that opportunity to pick up some maple syrup at Maple Syrup Festival, which is April 9th. Come on into the Vergas Community Center. We always use pure maple syrup on our pancakes when we have the feed, and so that gives you the opportunity. As I'm looking at this, there's one thing that comes to mind that's kind of a question that I've heard other people, and David, maybe you can answer that. The color. Some of it's, you had talked a little bit about that to us. What determines that?
Well, early in the year, we'll have a lot clearer syrup. But as it gets later in the year, that gets more mineral in it, and so it'll turn darker. All the same taste, all the same product, but just a little darker color later on in the year.
Okay. And what do you think determines what do you think determines the sweetness? I mean, you said like this year it tastes really good. What do you have any idea on that?
Well, it's always sweet, but it's
Right,
just.
yeah.
But I don't think it matters so much. Every year it seems like it's always sweeter than last year, but it's sort of like love. It just gets sweeter every year.
I love that. Okay. I think he wants you to help some more in the cook shack here.
Well, it'll be 50 years this fall, so he better be
He
talking
better be
smart.
Talking that way. Oh, that's great. Well, I just really appreciate you letting us come and see your process, all the way from going out and checking out the trees, and Aiden, you helping us check out those buckets, and then you got a nice little process going here and cooking that down, and then, like I say, for the finished product. So if you want to take a part in that, make sure that you come on April 9th to the community center. Dave and Sandy will be there. You can visit with them about that, and there'll be a lot of people, a lot of things going on, and it's maple syrup time, so enjoy it, and you enjoy your time in Vergas, and thank you very much. You have a good day in Vergas.